Good morning, Your Excellencies, Deputy Minister, Mr. Director, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and panelists. It's an honor to be back in the Chernin Palace after such a long time and introduce our 13th International Symposium on the Czech foreign policy, which will take place today and tomorrow. And it will talk about the post-pandemic foreign policy, strengthening resilience, pitfalls, and some challenges. It's a small crowd this morning, but I imagine people are still waking up. And because we are in a hybrid mode, I want to say hello specifically to our online viewers, because we had quite a good, I would say, registration number, and people are probably at home in comfort or overseas. We have quite a few viewers abroad who contacted us for web links. I will not talk about my take on this topic right now, but I invite Deputy Minister Mr. Martin Tlapa to provide his remarks as the guest of, or actually he's the person who is, this is his house, we are the guests, and so for the ministry, this is his presentation.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So first, thank you very much for finding the time to meet today on the symposium regarding the foreign policy of the Czech Republic. I think it's a 13th edition of such a meeting, and I think that it's very encouraging or provoking to have this symposium in the week of the national election in the Czech Republic. But maybe it means that something is stable, and I would like to try elaborate a little bit on today's topics, backing that some important elements, key elements of the foreign policy are stable, are remaining, are important for the people of the country. We have a consensus on that, and we are very active on achieving our goals. When the ambassadors are asking me in COVID time what they have to do, I'm always telling them, you have 5 dimensions of foreign policy, 5 pillars and 3 dimensions. Our policy was stated in the government's conclusion approved by the parliament a couple of years ago. It was about 8 and 10 years ago, and still it's remaining and based on the 5 pillars. One is help to promote the security in the world. The second one is together with the partners in the Czech Republic and partners abroad to build the prosperity in the world. The third one is to provide the services to the citizens, people and businesses. And it was a very important part, by the way, of the foreign policy in the COVID time. The third pillar is to fight for the human rights, in wide understanding of these expressions, because this is one of the important parts of our foreign policy for many, many years. And the last one, the fifth one, is brand name, building a positive image of the Czech Republic abroad. And when we are discussing abroad what we can do with our embassies, our people abroad, our partners, NGOs and businesses, we are always focusing on the 3 dimensions. One is bilateral, what we can do together with the country. One is regional, what we can do together as a member of EU and with regional partners of our countries. And multilateral, because we are very much depending on the global governance. And one of the lessons we learned from the pandemic is that we need a much more effective, functional, multilateral system. We need to be guided by the by the current world, by the rules and predictable multilateral system. Today's topic is even more important because we are approaching the Czech Presidency in the Council of the European Union. So I hope that it will help us not only to form a new policy or new policy inputs into the foreign policy after the election, but also for the Czech Presidency in the Council of the European Union. And I will mention a few remarks on that later. Today's topic is very much focusing on the pandemic. So let me say a few words without any ambitions to have final conclusion, because we are too in the middle of the stories. Then some thoughts which I will be happy to share with you to provoke and encourage discussions of today's symposium. It's no doubt a significant challenge. My first experience from that pandemic we started is very simple. The first task for us when pandemic started to be global was bring people back home, and embassy was playing a key role on that, arranging the services to the people to really bring them back to the Czech Republic when step by step all the borders were being closed. Maybe it's not visible for the first view, but this is a very important part of building a trust among the people and the government. And I am very proud what we did achieve. The number of flights, not only for the Czech citizens, but also for EU citizens, was significant. And we were one of the most efficient country in Europe which were able to achieve such a goal, to bring back Czechs when this is needed. Maybe it sounds not so important task of the foreign policy, but I do think that build a trust between the people and the government is based on everyday service to the citizens and the people. That's why I'm mentioning that. The second important part of this exercise was to help to bring equipment and the things which were demanded. I mean the health products to the Czech partners here in the Czech Republic. So we were helping us and other European countries as well to bring equipment which was heavily needed at the first weeks of the pandemic. Definitely, I think that one important lesson was that the world is able to achieve very quickly on the science, with the science, some kind of solution. So that's why the vaccine was developed very quickly, and this is a remarkable achievement. What we are now trying to do is both on the European and also multilateral level, not only think what is needed in the Czech Republic, what is needed in Europe, but also to help the third world countries to have access to the vaccines. I am Deputy Minister responsible for non-European countries. I was recently visiting Africa and Asia and Middle East. So I do know how it's important to build a trust that the world will be not divided for the rich countries which will have a third vaccination and countries which has zero vaccinations. That's why we need to build not only a trust among some humanity, let's say, but also we need to have a multilateral system through COVAX and other UN agencies, which will really develop the process when the vaccines will be accessible for the countries which are more needing. If we will fail in this task, we will definitely come closer to the division of the world back to the rich and poor countries in the world. So that's why I think it's very much important to help the world countries in the access to the vaccination. And this will be, by the way, also an important part of the Czech policy as well. Because through COVAX, the Czech Republic already announced a significant portion of the vaccines which will deliver to countries like Uganda, Kenya, and Asia countries as well. We ask our embassies abroad to elaborate a little bit about key effects of the pandemic. It was exercise we started 2020 and we repeat 2021. And I would like to share with you, without ambitions to have some conclusion, just to share with you some thoughts about key lessons, 8 remarks, I would say, which we pick up from the answers of the network of the people sitting abroad, living abroad, and observing how the situation is happening abroad. First, countries with old problems affected pandemic was just deepening the problems. Countries which were poor are poorer. Countries which have a financial problem, finance problems are facing more problems. Countries in fragile social and health system are demanded really to invest into the system. So the old, I would say, old weak points were just worsening during the pandemic. The second lesson is protectionism. Definitely, it's clear that at the beginning of the pandemic and even now, we can see that when something is happening globally, which is sensitive to the citizens, immediately it's arising the demand for the barriers, for the blocking trade. So the limits were not only for the people to travel, but also for the good to be moved worldwide. That's an important message for the country like the Czech Republic, which has very much dependence on the global trade. And we need to build alliances with those who would like to have and see the global business open and allowing to travel and allowing to do business globally. We see the investment barriers. We need to see also the difficult process to the public procurements. The third message we received was changes in the demand of supply, threatening the significant investment to the sectors. It's mixed good and bad news. Basically, it's a good news because we see that the demand is changing globally and will be demanding a lot of investment into the sectors in which Czech Republic is competitive, like health sector, for example, or security, because immediately with the crisis like that, the demand for the security is also growing. So I think that we can follow carefully what's happening in the demand sides of the world, how the sectors and consumers' demand is changing, where the governments are investing and what we can do together. The first message was fragmentation of the global structure. I think that we are facing something which we call selective multilateralism. Countries are picking up from the multilateral system with what is beneficial for them, and forgetting the global objectives or rules. So that's very important for us to work together with the multilateral organizations and the United Nations, but also health organizations, trade organizations, to really have a strong institutions which will, as I mentioned earlier, help us to demand the global governance. Decline of the economy in many countries are also the fact we are facing. It's because lockdown, this is because demand was frozen, it's because of trade was limited and also investment limited in many countries. So there's a lot of economic studies and there will be a panel focusing on the economic effects of the pandemic which will elaborate on that. But I think that this is another feature which we are facing. Another aspect which is for the reports we receive from our embassies affected with the pandemic is the growth of hybrid threats, disinformations and terrorist activities. And also if we look on the geopolitical, let's say, lessons, we see that some countries are getting more stronger, like China, influencing and weakening through vaccine diplomacy in many countries in the world. Some seems to be weaker. And I will be happy to encourage discussion about the lesson we should learn from EU and also with our alliances, US and others, about geopolitical position after the pandemic. And the eighth message is that diversification of the economies and focusing on different sectors could help to affect the prosperity which are affected by the pandemics. In other words, some countries which are dependent on one sector, like tourism, was definitely harming significantly. And this is regarding many countries which are depending on that. This is just a flavor of the messages. I have no ambition to say what is more important, less. I wanted just to share with you some thoughts we received to encourage today's discussion on the topic. And I will leave also two pictures which we elaborated on the pandemic and the Czech diplomacy about the opportunity, threats and future challenges and the Czech economy. And they are focusing a little bit on the things which we can do together. For the geopolitical shifts, we are always thinking what we can do more and how to use the lessons learned from the pandemic to have a stronger foreign policy of the Czech Republic, not weaker. And what are our alliances and ambitions on that? So on this picture, you may see what the potential opportunities of pandemic should influence the future challenges. And I will not read what you can see. I will just mention two things which are definitely regarding the diplomacy of my country. First point is to help to have a permanent presence of the Czech Republic abroad, because people were not allowed to travel. They asked the embassy about facilitating the contacts. The same was demanded by NGOs in the Czech Republic. So I think that one of the lessons we should learn that the permanent presence abroad in the future should be accompanied with the excellent services of the network we have abroad. In other words, to be more client-oriented. Sometimes it seems to me in time before pandemic that the embassy is sending reports what is happening in the country. My message is we need to have an active service-focused network of people abroad, which will be working as a team to be able, in the difficult time, to really working hard together. So that's a more managerial message, maybe, how to treat our people abroad, how to build alliances. Today I discussed with many businesses who are demanding the people how I can bring my business partner from Ghana to the Czech Republic. And they need a service from the embassy on that. We need to look if what is a say, what is allowed, how is the legislation. So this is moving the foreign service, from my understanding, to very practical things. So maybe we should be less narrative on topics we are discussing today, but we should be more focusing on the management of our people abroad to build that trust with our partners, it means businesses and the people in the Czech Republic, to provide excellent service. And that's another thing which, and definitely the second thing which I would like to pick up maybe from the different suggestions for the Czech diplomacy is really focus on the multilateral system. We need to be, and this is natural because we are a country which is heavily depending on global governance, global business. Look at the import plus export on GDP. We are one of the most open countries in the world. So we need a strong multilateral guided system which will be predictable for the people and businesses in the future. And this is regarding our membership in United Nations organizations and also, for example, health organizations and World Trade Organizations and OECD. So how we can globally overcome these challenges by having a better system. The global system is not perfect, but we need to not destroy the system, we need to improve the system, which will build the trust. We will have to look on the several agencies we have under United Nations and look what are the effectiveness of the organizations. And we will find the partners who are discussing the same thing on the national level, because also the people in other countries are demanding and asking the question, what is the output of the organizations for my life? And we too need the answer to them. So this is absolutely a legitimate question, and we need to build a trust and like-minded groups which will be open how to make, for example, World Trade Organizations more effective. So that's a flavor of the things I'd like to mention. I will not too much go into the opportunities of the Czech economy and threats because it will be focusing on a panel here today. But from my understanding, for the Czech economy, it means to understand how the investment will be moving globally, how the demand of the things will be changing, and very much discussing the value chain, for example. What should be produced where? How we should be depending on the suppliers from other countries. What is in definition of the national security? How to protect the investment in the country? How to invest into key added value services in the country. So this is all things which we can discuss and will definitely encourage the discussion. It's not basically the tasks only for the Foreign Affairs Ministry to answer and to form the government policy, but our input is unique. We are bringing the world to the thoughts we have in the Czech Republic. We are responsible to bring all relevant trends and information happening in the world for the decision makers in the country to make decisions which will be based on the best practice we have in the global economy. We will be preparing now for the Czech presidency, and let me say a few words about the cooperation on that. France and Sweden, traditionally a good team for bringing the presidency trio, and based on that we will be preparing for the December General Affairs Council program of the presidency for the upcoming year. It will be a chance for us to focus on our priorities. Definitely what we will be looking for that will be looking for some topics which are of the interest and traditionally for the interest of the Czech Republic. So we will be definitely looking on the cooperation with our two key alliances. It means in the EU, how to make EU efficient in fulfilling the tasks we have. And the second one is how to build transatlantic relations, strengthening EU multilateral engagement. The third important topic for the Czech Republic definitely will be Western Balkan and Eastern Partnership. This is traditionally a topic which are associated with the Czech Republic. We are very active on that. We do know how important for the security and prosperity of the Europe is Western Balkan to have a future of the integration into European Union. And the same should be said about Eastern Partnership. From the partners abroad, I'd like to mention 3 points. One is Sahel. Definitely our participation in Sahel mission of Afghanistan is the largest one at this moment. We need to, first of all, to have an open discussion after the Afghanistan story about how it's influencing our mission abroad. But on the other side, we have to not leave our fight against terrorism in Africa. From our understanding, the presence of the Czech capacity there and the United Nations missions are important, and we will continue on that. And Africa is becoming, as you know, more and more important part of our foreign policy. Since 2014, we invested, 2004, we invested a lot of resources to the people and to the embassies to be present abroad. And we are back in countries like Senegal, Ghana, Nigeria, Democratic Republic of Congo, and Kenya and others. We are one of them, from the center point of view, country which is heavily present in Africa. And we have to form, based on our experiences, not only in Sahel, about the partnership with Africa. Our topic is not what we do to Africa. We have to work with countries who are ready and willing to cooperate, both on EU and national dimension of prospects. We have to be much more united in the European Union when we are sending and discussing our policy. In many countries, China is visible as a major partner and donator. And this is because we are not able in Africa to be visible there as a team Europe. Because still in many countries, EU is largest investors, trade partner, and business partner for the imports from Africa. And we are looking for the long-term partnership agreements with many of the countries. So we would like to encourage a discussion on the topics, also being a member of EU. Second important topic I'd like to mention is Indo-Pacific region. This is the region when lots of clashes will happen in the future. And we have to be ready, and we have to be definitely on the sides of those who are backing our values we have in Europe. That's why we are discussing about strategic partnership with countries like Australia, New Zealand. We are with Japan, India, South Korea. We have lots of topics together: cybersecurity, cooperation in development, and humanitarian assistance to the country which has a low income on GDP, how to be more effective there. And based on such a discussion, we are preparing in Foreign Affairs the strategic paper, which we would like to introduce to the Czech government after the election, at the end of November, to present our homework on that. And based on the consensus we will have with the Czech government, NGOs, businesses, and others, we would like to elaborate some key topics and messages for the cooperation. That's a very important thing for us, and we will be happy to do that. We will see what will world bring together in upcoming months. We have to be very active in Middle East because we have a unique relation with Israel on one side, and we have also a very good relations with Arab countries. This is a unique feature of the Czech policy as well. So I give you one example which is in my mind. We need a stronger Palestine authority for the future of Palestine. Czechs has no problem with Palestine. We have a problem with Hamas as a terrorist organizations, as other countries in the region, like Saudi Arabia and others. So, for example, in development cooperation for us is really to work together how we can bring the humanitarian assistance, which is heavily needed in the region, in Gaza and other places in Palestine, to the people, without helping and assisting in terrorist organizations in the region. That's not easy tasks for us. For that, we need a strong Palestinian authority. And this is maybe a unique position we have in Israel, to put it on topics we are discussing on the strategic partnership we have between the Czech Republic and Israel. So that's basically maybe some flavor of the things we would like to do. Definitely I will not cover all important things which will influence the Czech presidency and ambitious, because the agenda, as I mentioned, will be approved on the meeting in the General Assembly in December. We will be definitely hoping to work together with the United States to build a very effective partnership. You know about many voices in the Czech Republic also to finalize the free trade between EU and US. I don't know if the weather and the conditions will be allowing of that. We need to cooperate in other sectors as well, but it will be an important part of that. So I would finish with two things which are in my mind. One is reminding me what German President Steinmeier was saying when I was in Brussels. He was Minister of Foreign Affairs. And he was saying often, the most difficult things on the foreign policy is to sell it at home. So I hope that election will help us to bring a consensus on the key things we have to do in the global world. We need to a national consensus. I am not the person who is happy to go into the several topics which are not backed by some kind of political consensus in the Czech Republic. So we'll see on that, and I hope and I'm sure that we will be active on the topics, not only I mentioned, maybe others, which will be of the interest of the Czech Republic to play a significant role in the global governance and the global world in the future. That's one important solution, one important suggestion. And the second one was what Henry Kissinger was mentioning. Everything depends on some vision of the future. So I wish that foreign policy and this ministry will be assisting the policymakers on every level, at every level in the Czech Republic about designing, helping to design the vision of the world, which will be not just reaction what's happening abroad and how we can, be secure against the threats, but how we will use the opportunities in the global world for achieving prosperity of the people, security of the people. So this more proactive approach, which I hope will be also a part of our foreign policy, is a key pillar for the success of the Czech economy, Czech country, Czech people's presence abroad. So I hope that it will help to fulfill our visions of having a foreign policy strong, agreed on the national level, active, looking with the key partners for achieving the better world for the future for the people. Thank you for coming and for your attention today.
I would like to thank Deputy Minister Martin Tlapa for his informative remarks. I'm sure many observers of Czech foreign policy have appreciated the depth and specifics of your outlook, even for the future. And now I invite our director, Ondřej Ditrych, to give remarks for the Institute of International Relations, because with the ministry we are the co-organizers today.
Yes, thank you very much. So thank you, Alica. Deputy Minister, Excellencies, colleagues and friends, I will be more ceremonial in my opening remarks than Deputy Minister Tlapa, but I would like to thank him first for his very insightful practitioners' input into the challenges of the foreign policy today, and this is exactly where such remarks are welcome, and I hope that they will provoke the discussion in the days to follow. I am delighted to greet you today in this great hall of the Chernin Palace for the 13th annual Symposium on Czech Foreign Policy. Since it started, the Symposium has developed into a true institution, a forum to debate among policymakers, politicians, experts and civil society, the course of how our country should act in the world out there, and the many transformations that this world, which is as much a world in here, has been taking. It is, I believe, one of the most important contributions that we, as the Institute of International Relations, bring to the never-ending process of Czech foreign policy. And it's also an opportunity to showcase our research to the broader public. And this year is no different, yet also very special. It is special since, in view of the upcoming presidency in the Council of the European Union next year, we have chosen as the Symposium spotlight topic one that should also play, as Deputy Minister mentioned, a central role in what the Czech Republic wishes to advance in the Union next year. And the topic is resilience. We have dealt with resilience for a long time in our research, both thinking through the concept in its many facets and devising very practical means of increasing the public institutions' capacity to be resilient in face of hybrid operations, for example. We have also staged public debates and fora where resilience has been discussed extensively. In 2017, it was the high-level conference on resilience organized together with NATO and our colleagues from FIA, Finnish Institute of International Affairs. The year after, resilience was the key topic of our very first Czernin Security Forum, the new security conference we introduced together with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And resilience has also been a recurrent topic, an appearance in our Prague European Summit. But what's different now? Well, of course, the global pandemic. It's been a catalyzer of geopolitical tensions. It's disrupted the balance in the system of global economic interdependence, though for the time being, the two leading powers, the United States and China, remain tightly coupled. It has increased distrust among nations and the closing of their collective minds. It's accelerated the process of fragmentation of the international normative order, the dense web of norms, rules and conventions of international society, whose centers seem to hold no more, at occasions at least. To build back better in these circumstances is a rather tall order, if only because we sometimes lack compelling visions, the grand visions that Deputy Minister Tlapa was speaking about of what better actually means, and the capacity to re-problematize the world, perhaps, and turn more attention to the most acute global challenges like climate, biodiversity, or social impacts of new technologies, for which the COVID actually opens space. So perhaps to build back political, economic, and social systems that are resilient to similar global shocks is good enough. Perhaps, I would argue, as long as we understand resilience, first of all, as a process rather than a state. The capacity to tolerate and successfully cope with change, which is permanent. And think of this coping ability not in terms of shock absorption and maintenance for rebuilding of the status quo, but also in terms of the ability to adapt to this change. A condition of this capacity to adapt, I believe, is flexible policymaking, for which also effective enrollment of independent expertise is a necessary condition, particularly in the stages of policy design and evaluation. And this is actually going to be one of the themes to be raised in this year's conference as well. So in conclusion, let me extend my deepest gratitude to everyone involved in making this year's symposium possible. The Foreign Ministry, with whom we have been in business of organizing this conference since its very inception, the embassies and other partners who have graciously supported this year's program, the team at the Institute of International Relations, from Alica Kizeková, the relentless program chair, to the fabulous organization staff. So to all of them, thank you, and to all of you, let's have a great conference, sharing and debating ideas that can make foreign policy better, and in the spirit of the Institute of International Relations' recent slogan, turning expertise to impact. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ondřej. Just a very brief introductions from me. He's already introduced me as a program coordinator, but also head of Asia Pacific unit at the Institute of International Relations Prague. So I'm the one who is relentlessly endorsing Indo-Pacific throughout my career. because one of my also homelands is Australia, so I feel very strongly about this shift. In terms of the symposium, it's a two-day event, and it is my responsibility to guide you through the program. Obviously, the theme is to really assess somewhat critically and constructively the interactions of the governments and citizens, civil society, but also the international organizations. Today you're going to hear from one of our panel on the EU as a global actor and the global strategy and how that weathered, obviously, the pandemic. And we also are going to hear from experts on law about the international organizations and the level of resilience, but also some failings. They will point out some weak points. And another topic today will be obviously on environment and reducing emissions, very important. Tomorrow we're going to explore the topic of Indo-Pacific. In the audience we have a speaker who traveled from Germany, so I'm very grateful for people who arrived to Prague and are not online if they can travel by train, let's say. Then we'll have a topic on Sahel, as was already mentioned today, and very important social, economic and healthcare panel from Czech experts, but from spheres of academia, Doctors Without Borders, and sociology, who will discuss specifically how they interacted in the Czech society. This might be very specific to somebody, it actually applies to many nations. Lessons can be drawn. And at last, we're going to introduce two books as two launches. One is on Indo-Pacific, and one is on Czech interests in 2020, and we are already working in 2021. But I have to say, what's important for us as experts, that we have staff that's very international, and they are bringing new, I think, perspectives for us on topics such as extremism, far right, autocratization, but also as home-based long-term experts, we are talking about security, soft power, and space. So it is very rich. Everybody will find something for themselves. I think at last, I would like to just mention we are at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I actually spotted the Minister of Foreign Affairs passing the hall as the deputy had his remarks, so he graced us with his presence. But if we can be please respectful and wear face masks, because this is a workplace for many people, and we have to keep all of us safe. We are obviously socially distancing at our tables, but we have to preserve that also when we interact more largely. Ondřej already mentioned, but I always like to thank our conference unit and volunteers. We have interns who are unpaid, and they put effort into drafting reports and helping with organizing this event, and I'm very thankful. In terms of our partners, we are very grateful to the Norwegian Embassy this year, Embassy of UK, but also CEFRES, which is a research center, French research center in humanities and social sciences. So all these are very important interactions, and we always welcome other embassies and institutions to help. I'm going to end now because I would like to thank again our speakers. We started a bit later, but I appreciate they stuck to the time in their remarks, and I hope we'll see them again in different panels with their remarks. Thank you.